In the next edition of It's About Money, my guest will be Barbara Zelazny, and she is the principal as well as superintendent of the Young Women's Prep College. It'll be a delightful conversation. Join us then. Hello and welcome to another edition of It's About Money. I'm Nannette Nocon and thank you for joining us. I'm thrilled to have as our guest today Barbara Zelazny, and she's the principal and superintendent of the Young Women's College Prep in Rochester. Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you so much. I have had some exposure to the school and very impressed with what's happened over the years. And I thought I'd like to ask you about what WYCP is for the benefit of our audience and what its mission is.
Sure. So you will commonly hear us say YWCP, and that stands for Young Women's College Prep. And the school is a single gender, only girls school, and our mission is to prepare girls rigorously to be competitive in college and complete a 4-year college degree.
I see. And the students are from the city of Rochester, or they can be anywhere from Monroe County?
Yeah, so that confuses a lot of people. Charter school, the way the law works is that it's in the county, whatever county the school is in. Kids can come to those schools from around the county. Frequently, our charter schools in the area are in the city of Rochester. Our school's building is in Greece, but the majority of our children come from Rochester. But children can apply if they live in Monroe County. So we do have some children from Gates Chile, Greece, some Irondequoit students, Brighton student. But the majority of our girls come from Rochester.
That's great. It's great. It's a nice alternative to regular school. I went to school at St. Agnes, long gone.
Oh, okay.
But it's an all-girls school.
I remember
so
St. Agnes.
Yeah, so it's a great way to kind of interact because the girls can raise their hands. You had your first set of graduates in June, right?
We had our second class in 2019. Our first class was 2018, so we got 2 under our belt.
Oh, great, great.
Yes.
So tell us about the path the students have taken.
Sure. So we are very proud of this. 96% graduation rate.
Yay!
I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And all of the girls were accepted to college. That does not mean that all of the girls went to college, but we brought everybody through, so everyone was accepted at a community college level, and about 40% of the girls went to 4-year colleges. And there's, let me get my numbers here, 22% of the girls of the first class went into workforce. Everyone had a Regents diploma or Regents diploma with advanced distinction. So what we are finding is wherever the kids join us, that the road to first getting that Regents diploma and then prepared for college, that there's kids who are at different spaces there. So we have kids who soar right across, who are leaving with AP credits, launching and feel really prepared right away for 4-year colleges. We have other girls who are working hard and doing well for their Regents diploma, and they are choosing to go to MCC and do 2+2 programs, and some students who needed a little extra time to get a Regents diploma, and so we have kind of these different lanes that we try to keep available and push everybody as fast and high as they can go, so that they're positioned for their next step, whatever it might be.
That's great, because the school started with just a smaller number of grades, right? Would you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So once your charter, so I wasn't the principal when the school was founded, but I do understand how it works. When a charter is put in and approved, you start with fewer number of classes and then grow out. So they enrolled girls in grades 7, 8, and 9. And then each year would add another grade, so those 9th graders would go to 10, so then they'd be 7 through 10. Gotcha. Culminating in 2018 with our graduating class, and 84% of those girls had been there since 7th grade.
Nice. Okay.
So in those grow out years, we had a few different buildings, and you know, we're building the plane while flying. It was definitely, I know that analogy gets overused, but this really was that.
Yeah,
right. A lot of people worked very hard to create and bring this vision to fruition. So
yeah, that's great. I think it's great. When I went to Catholic school, all girls Catholic school, we had to wear uniforms. Is that something the girls have to do?
It is, and you know, I had a sister who went to Mercy, and you know, I'm very familiar. And one of the things behind the founding of the school is that there's no public all-girls school option. So that was the space YWCP had hoped to fill. And we do require the girls to wear uniforms. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's a lot of research that shows that that's a good basic principle to bring unity and take away some of the pressures mm-hmm. in terms of competition or people feeling insecure about what they have or don't have. Or sure. So our girls do wear a uniform.
Gotcha. And is it, so when I went to school, we bought our uniforms. Is that the case also?
It is the case. Families buy uniforms. We do have funds that we reserve for families who can't afford the uniforms on their own, readily available.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. So what is the school modeled after? Because charter schools have some sort of modeling
mm-hmm,
photos, right?
Mm-hmm. Ours is kind of a cool story.
Okay.
Brooke Stafford Brizard, she was the wife of the former RCSD superintendent, Jean-Claude Brizard, mm-hmm. and Laura Rebel Gross are the founders. Laura Rebel Gross had worked at a school in, I want to say it's Brooklyn, that was, they call it TWILS, Young Women's Leadership, something. And that was founded by Ann Tisch in New York City. And similar things to what we've been talking about is having an educational opportunity for girls to go to school together where they, without the pressures of gender bias, and all the things that come along with that and distractions, mm-hmm. With a real strategic, systemic way of helping the girls to develop their academic identity, because many of the children may not have had a parent that's been a college graduate. So, you know, not just the studies, but really the mindset behind it, and getting kids on campuses, and you know, having them really see themselves there and a path and explore mm-hmm. careers. Mm-hmm. So those started in New York City, which led to the development of a Young Women's Leadership Network. And Laura Rebel Gross was a teacher in one of them. Okay. Okay, so this is a fun.
Yes,
then
that's great.
Her husband was doing his residency or some part of his, he's a physician at U of R. And so she was here and met Brooke Brizard, and then they had the model from New York City, and then they made YWCP. Mm-hmm. So we're an affiliate of the Young Women's Leadership Network.
That's great. I think
mm-hmm.
it's a great opportunity mm-hmm. for the girls, and
they're very successful. There's many in New York City now and across the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a great option, because I mean, most classrooms, they say the boys tend to be more, they raise their hands more, so the girls don't have that opportunity.
Yes, and subtle things that people aren't aware of, but even that teachers subconsciously may choose boys over girls to answer questions, and mm-hmm. girls raise their hands less frequently. They don't take the higher classes in sciences and math.
I see, I see. That's interesting. It's subconscious. Of course, they don't want to...
well, one would hope.
Right? It's like,
I was a classroom
natural.
teacher, and I'm hoping... I think about those things like, did I do that? I hope not.
No, the school is separate from the foundation, right? Because
yes,
financing is...
Yes.
Actually, let's talk about financing first.
Sure.
So,
very interesting.
How is the charter school financed? Because it's not really...
Mm-hmm.
city school district, if you will. Right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. And this is how it works. And I've been in it for 2 years, and I did not know. So the charter school is a public school. So there's no, you know, people apply because we have to put your name in the ring, in the hat in the ring. But then it's a lottery about who gets. And there's a lot of rules, law about accepting kids in all different subgroups, and having a shared percentage of, for example, if in Rochester the percentage of students, English language learning students is 18%. The charter schools are supposed to have within 5% of that, so that we have a like populations of the home schools. I don't know how I got off on that. But how the financing works is the state aid, so the children, they call it the district of residence. So from the district of the child's residence, the school gets half of the per pupil allocation. So if we round it off and Rochester City School District receives $26,000 per pupil, YWCP would get $13,000 for that pupil at our school.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So you get a lot less funding, so then you have to raise money to make up the difference. Right?
Yeah, and I think we have, so the remaining money for the districts of the district of residence, they do have an expense of transporting the children, so the transportation costs stays with them. There's a lot of people who, I don't think it's apples to apples here that every kid's transportation is $13,000, but of course there's overhead and there's a fairness to that, and the state also requires that any specialized student services such as special education, that the oversight, management, and that part of it has to stay in the district of residence. So that's some of those costs there. But we do have less, and we don't get the kind of capital funds for buildings, and there's a lot of things that you don't get from typical districts would get from state aid money. And so the role our foundation has played from the beginning is trying to raise money for the things that either state, you know, this is a money show, but so, you know, there's a lot of rules about accounting and public funds and what you can use it for, and so the foundation has been a really excellent partner to the school, and they've helped us develop and fund that college part of our program. So they would, every girl goes to 2 college visits a year from the time they're in 7th grade, and they help us connect to all sorts of opportunities in the community, pay for transportation, tuition to certain camps and things as girls get different opportunities. They run a few programs in the school, like Cool Women, Hot Jobs.
Yes, I've been to that.
They've been to that. and various other things that they might offset a cost. So we have a softball team now who's moving up to varsity. This is just an example. And we had to get the field up and ready so that we could have home games. We had to get the cutouts, and then the foundation is trying to provide the money because in order to have the game there, I have to have this net against the school. It's silly, but you know, it's like it falls into, oh, I didn't know that, so something that's outside of the planned budget, but that is deemed very important for the whole child.
I see.
They help to find grants and supply additional materials in the school that we might not otherwise have. So really, a really excellent partner.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So really, there's the school, which is funded by the reimbursements or allocation from the school district that the child, home school district that the child is from, and then the other part is the foundation that supports ancillary stuff. Yeah, you know, it's kind of interesting. Sometimes you're doing things and organizing it and realizing, oh, there's no money for that or whatever, and that sounds like the foundation can help.
Yes, you know, it's really true, and I think. You know, we have the money for the basics, but it's, you know, it's my opinion that things haven't been equal and right in education in Rochester for some time, and so when you get into 7th grade and an average 90% of the girls walking through our door are below proficiency levels in English, ELA, and math. There's a fair amount of struggles that some of our families face, and so in my opinion more should be done faster, not the same, when you're talking about trying to level a playing field here and negotiate a divide that wasn't necessarily created by the children themselves. So so I can't take, if a child is that behind and we're trying to get to graduation, you have to do epic level things to prop that young woman up, because she absolutely is there and can do it, but there's a divide, there's issues. So it takes more sometimes and faster. You know, a good example of that is we have an extra period for mathematics, and I'm able to have 2 teachers in the every other day extra period, so we can do a lot of tabletop, individualized, right in small differentiated groups, and we're finding like massive growth.
Oh, nice.
When I was the principal in Rochester, of course everybody's working hard, but I couldn't do that.
Gotcha. Okay,
You know?
very nice. Oh, I'm so inspired. That's wonderful. We're going to take a quick break. My guest is Barbara Zelazny, and she's the principal and superintendent of the Young Women's Prep College. We'll be right back.
It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus. So follow guidance from authorities where you live and stay home unless absolutely necessary. Use a delivery service for essential items like food and medicine. If you must make essential trips, stay 6 feet apart from other people. Wear a cloth face covering and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
And we're back. I'm Nannette Nocon. It's about my money. My guest is Barbara Zelazny, and she is the principal and superintendent of the Young Women's Prep College. Thanks again for being here.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I'm so excited about this school. I think it's the best thing. So we talked about earlier about the funding from the school district, home school district of the child that enters, and then also the foundation. So let's talk a little bit more about the foundation, because that's where volunteers or supporters donate money to. That makes it tax deductible, right? And there's a breakfast that you run every year.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell us
so yearly, it's the leadership breakfast, and the foundation puts this on, and they highlight the year before that and spotlight the work the school's doing, and it's very driven by the girls, and girls included, and they participate in the planning of it. And the idea here is to help people have a real, sort of a peep in, a real view into what is exciting and what's so necessary and essential about the work that's going on. And the breakfast is in October 20th. Not terrible. I think it's the 23rd or
but
26th.
Usually in October every year. Yes. Okay.
Usually in October, and many community members come to the breakfast, and we break bread together and hear from the girls, and we have some honorees, and we certainly do welcome donations there, and the money goes directly to the children and the programs. Which is, as we discussed, a very big help.
Yeah, and actually I've attended those breakfasts, and it's been so impressive how the girls organize the programs, MC the program, interviews the guests that they videotape, and I thought, wow, this is really real stuff, because they're showing their work to the community, and it's quite impressive.
It is, and a really big component of what we do at YWCP is that leadership development. And opportunities like that, and when you see a young 7th grader grow into, the senior who is presented with her blazer, and you can see the incremental changes and the not so incremental but massive changes, and those types of opportunity, and just being there and meeting people from all over. The girls love doing stuff like that, and you find their communication skills, their confidence. Yes. They feel included in places where they may never have been before.
Sure, and seeing the results and having the audience appreciate it, I think it's wonderful.
And now we have traditions. So as we were growing, we were developing, but now, the girls are, when's the blazer ceremony? When am I getting my blazer? So you start to get that. As a new school,
sure,
you think about how those things start, and so
nice.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, I think it's great, because they also choose who gets, like, there's some favorite, how do they call them, the favorite?
Oh, there's the man we love.
Oh, man, yes.
And various other honorees.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's great the way they interview them and present, you know, the whole thing. It's just amazing.
We've had very generous partners in the Rochester area behind the school.
And that's well attended, right? A couple hundred people that attend. That's really good. So besides the foundation covering some of the expenses not covered under the tuition, if you will, there's other programs I could mention, taking the kids to a college twice a year, right? Which I think is great.
Yes, and it's certainly, the whole college journey is embedded in the design and in our college and career counseling program at the school. But in one of the key components is the college visits, and in summer bridge work and different opportunities getting girls on the campus. And the foundation was the cornerstone of that, and some of the summer programs, and those continue. And the funding and planning and getting the girls to the colleges, and sometime before, we're changing the grade recently, but they get to stay overnight on a college campus, and we couldn't do it, couldn't do that aspect of the work without the foundation.
Yeah, I think that's just really great. You know, I think in life, a lot of how we get to where we do is a matter of expectation. So when the students come to school, they're expected to graduate and think about the next step, college or right, work. It's amazing, the results.
Yeah, and I think there's another lens to it too, that we're really trying to dig in on, and because even as we chip away at that and help a young person have their academic identity and see themselves there, you know, women and men of color on college campuses, depending on where they are, can report feeling somewhat isolated and having additional challenges there, even though they are academically prepared. So we're trying to get at all the different angles in terms of the child's mindset or young woman's mindset and wellness and belonging, and are really trying to attack that from all angles, so that we don't just get them academically prepared and then kids are shocked in different ways. So it's absolutely about career and academics, but also what's it going to be like, and where do I go when this happens, and you know, and we even try, there's things like setting up your dorm room, and there was a donation, this is a nice one, through the foundation that allows for every girl to have a Chromebook when she graduates to take to college.
Wow, that's wonderful.
You know, you think about those costs that go beyond the tuition, and that can be a real roadblock for some families. So.
Sure, that's great. Actually, I know when I graduated from St. Agnes High School, I went to Cornell, and I spent the summer before my freshman year on campus. So
yes,
I took a couple
of those programs.
Yeah, I took a couple courses, but I got used to the campus. So then when the other students came, it wasn't another layer that I had to think about. You know, at least I knew where the locations of where I needed to go and those kinds of things.
You had a little head start.
Yeah, right. And then the socialization part's a little bit easier. So I'm totally for that. And they also talk about, you know, how some of the kids sometimes slide back during summer. So if they're engaged in some way, it's a good thing. So that's wonderful. So what would you say is the draw for volunteers and supporters? I mean, why would people give to the foundation? And I mean, it's obvious to me, but I'd like you to share with our audience.
Well, if I can just speak from my own heart,
Yes, please.
You know, I'm honored to lead this school. For me, education is a right and not a privilege. And when you can be part of an organization that is really tied to that belief and is passionate and strategic about how that opportunity is packaged, and then you meet the girls and see, you know, of course they should have this education, but the truth is that there's a lot of struggles in the schools in Rochester, so it's not necessarily guaranteed. And our tradition, what we're trying to do is year over year show that everyone, it's essential they have it, and of course they can, and look at our model because there's 96% of our girls graduating and prepared for their next phase. So if equity in education, if it makes you feel, if you feel it's just not right, and having a touchstone, this is a place where we really try to make that a truth year over year.
That's great. So impressive. That's wonderful. Now, you've been since 2018 that you joined, 17 that you joined the school.
It's right. I came in the middle of the year. I came January 2nd was my first day, 2018.
I see, I see. What's the draw for you to come to that?
Well, so I sort of touched on that.
Yes.
So I was a proud principal of Avon High School. I was recruited to Rochester City School District by Bohan Vargas. I'm very interested in, been working in restorative practices, and I've done some work in writing restorative theory into practice in schools. I wanted to be back. I was born and raised in Rochester. I was very happy to come and be a leader in the Rochester City School District at Northwest Junior High at Frederick Douglass, and I loved my time there. But when I was talked to about this opportunity, what was so exciting for me is that I could kind of bring all my expertise together in a place with a very supportive board, a supportive foundation, an excellent faculty, and rapidly sort of put all the pieces together. There's no secret what best practice is in education. The challenges we face, that I faced in Rochester City School District, there's brilliant, hardworking people, but there's red tape, there's roadblocks that don't make a ton of sense all the time. So in a small setting like YWCP, I sometimes joke I can be a benevolent dictator.
And there's a lot of value to that.
So I can bring that expertise and build upon this amazing model and foundation. And the truth is, we really are making progress with that. And so once I figured out, well, I was offered the position, but I didn't really know much about the charter world. And turns out it's a perfect match for me because I have my home with young women. I'm in the serving the city which I grew up in, and I can get stuff done in a timely way.
That's great. I mean, really, to be in an environment where the graduation rate is not needs a lot of help from the city school district. It's wonderful to have this school opportunity for girls, certainly. It's great. So I want to wish you the very best. It's been enlightening to learn about the charter school, the YWCP, and for our guests to hear what you're doing and how it makes a difference. So, and donations are accepted, right?
That's right.
But there's a website.
Yes, there is a website. If you went to ywcp.org, and then there's a link to the foundation and a place to make donations.
My guest has been Barbara Zelazny, and she is the principal and superintendent of the Young Women's Prep College. Until next time.